Cheers, and welcome to the RB2 Speakeasy TV show review. Brought to you by Reels, Booze, and Bros, aka RB2 Podcast. You're asking yourself, what do you mean, RB2 Speakeasy TV show review? Well, it's actually in the title. It says it right there. TV show review. So what we're going to do is going to be me, your host, Jay. I'm going to have some guest hosts coming on here. Probably some of the other we're still around. The Reels, Booze, Bros podcast, movie review podcast. We're still around. I might have some other of our Real Bro fans coming in who are going to, it's going to be quick and easy. I got a little further in about, but let's get to our first guest. I'm going to give him a call. He's a Real Bro fan. Yeah, cool technology going on here. So let's get the phone ringing. Oh,
stop.
There we go. I had you on mute. Okay, so I already fucked up once now. All right, so tonight's guest, as he lives by the motto, liquor may not solve all your problems, but it's worth a shot. Real Bro fan Joe. What's up, Joe? How you doing tonight?
What's up, dude? I don't even think I've ever said those words, but it's an absolutely wonderful motto to present. I might tell my wife that, actually. You know, she'll call my bullshit though, so it's fine.
Well, we just dubbed it here on I'm trying to give the listeners what's going on, the RB2 Speakeasy TV show review. So before we go into a little more background, Joe, you pop up in our Twitch chat every now and then on our Reels, Brews, Bros, a RB2 podcast. And I'm very happy. I thought of you when I first thought of this idea, mainly me thought of this idea. I want to do some TV shows, stuff like that. We go back and forth, you and I, about talking about TV shows, what's coming up, what's going on. And for tonight's one, it was great. The first season we're going to start off with. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You highly recommended it. You thought it was a great show. And so we're going to go on. But it's more about the RB2 Speakeasy. So what this is, well, we're going with the booze theme. So we decided the name the Speakeasy of what's going on. So I thought it was good. Like try a little... the 1930s, 20s when Prohibition was going on with Speakeasy, so I thought it was a little clever. I don't know if it's not, but we'll see. And
I wouldn't tell you if it wasn't. I appreciated the name. You know, it means a lot of things, but you can use it for whatever you want. It's fine. Yeah, I'll speak softly.
I'll speak softly, nice and easy. That's the other thing. And I said for this, our usual podcast or on the movie review are like an hour plus. This we're going to try to limit it about 30 minutes or less. We just want to get into the nitty-gritty of the actual TV show. This season, we may start 1 or 2 episodes. I don't know how this is going to go on, but we're just going to probably just do, as is tonight's episode, we're going to do the first season. And just like in true Speakeasy fashion, we'll keep this, as I said, light. And that's pretty much and quick. That's about it. So, Joe, introduce yourself a little bit. Why you kind of serve TV, movies, and what else?
Yeah, obviously, long time fan, right? I get to berate you and the other guys.
The chat's always entertaining when you're in.
Yeah. It's entertaining for the few of us that survive, and usually it starts off with the few of us going back and forth, and it usually ends up being me for about 60 lines in the chat. So obviously,
I remember. You got banned a lot of the times in the beginning, so I had to fix that. So to keep you on.
That thing. I would say like the word stupid, and then it's like, hey, you've gotten a 300-second ban. So there's always that.
Then that's when the text would come in after that.
Yeah, I give you a text and I'd be like, hey, I said the word stupid and the bot just banned me for some odd reason. So it's fine. Because you guys are clearly cursing more than I am. I said the word stupid, Not even towards the person, like just in general.
Yeah, it was probably like all caps is what got you out of there. So
yeah, or it was like too rapid fire. But yeah, I definitely, I always tell you, I always appreciate, the context you guys provide on the movies. And, I'm definitely a huge fan of the selection so far. And, I've done my best to tune in because I do have a lot in common with you in that much. I do enjoy the great movie. And then for TV shows, I'll pretty much watch anything except what my wife wants to watch. There's like the occasional show that we overlap on. But if there is something that's good, you're probably like one of the first people that I'm like, I have to tell Jay because there's no way that he can't see this show. And, you're usually one that's like, yeah, I'm kind of busy or I'm into something. And, Katie's got me doing something, so
I always got me going on.
Yeah, exactly. So I always, I always try to respect boundaries. But if it's something that's good like this, I think I got done watching it, and about 48 seconds later, I was like, I got to tell Jay.
That's right. You drop everything now.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
You got to watch this.
Yeah, like my kid could be having a meltdown. I'm like, hang on one second.
Yeah.
I gotta go tell Jay that he needs to see this, and then we'll go back to your tantrum. It's fine.
Exactly. So all right. So moving on as and we're going to move like how we do it in the movie podcast. We're gonna go. I know I'm tonight. I'm not sure if you're drinking. You may join us if you want. If not,
absolutely.
So, fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
I have to tell you, I still, I'm not, you know me, I'm not really like a crazy beer guy, but I do appreciate the brown liquor. But for tonight, I went out and I found something really special on the internet, and someone had some crazy concoction.
Oh.
And I decided to make it. And I want to share the recipe with you because
of course,
there's two things I want to do. A, I want to call out how fantastic it is, and B, I want to make fun of myself because I always bust Brian's balls about
oh my god,
the fruitiness in some of his drinks. So I couldn't be a hypocrite and not call myself out and take my man card away after I share what I'm about to share. So I'm going to throw this out there. So I found someone on the internet. They made like a custom tequila sunrise.
Okay,
right?
Okay. So that sounds pretty good.
Right. So I'm just easy. This is easy peasy, right? So you take a regular Corona Extra, right? First thing you do is you need two bottles. The first thing you do is slug down the first one in about 4 seconds.
All right.
Right. That gets the buzz going. Second thing you're going to do, you're going to open up the second bottle. You're going to drink it down to the top label. All right. Now follow me on the recipe.
Okay.
1 shot of orange juice, half a shot of grenadine, 1 shot of tequila, but it's got to be the brown tequila, none of that cheap stuff that you can use in cars. Okay. You put that in there. You put your lime in there as per the usual, and it is the most phenomenal tasting, refreshing summer drink that you can have.
I see. That sounds nice, actually. I'm not a big, I said tequila but all that stuff mixed together, I'm gonna have to try that.
I mean, listen, I have bad memories of tequila. You know the company we keep, so that's common practice, right? So
that's true.
I definitely have some bad memories, but this is refreshing. At what is it, almost 10 o'clock our time? Yeah, so it's very refreshing.
Yep, very good. So you send me that. I'll post it on the website. I'll get to that later on. And now move on to mine. I decided to go with something called Blood Orange LB IPA. I thought of the blood orange because especially blood. There's a lot of blood in this series I got going. A lot of fucking killing.
Yes.
So
and it's great because we both decided to go with something orange flavored.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
And that wasn't planned.
Not one bit. Not planned at all. Like, did we become best friends?
Yeah, you guys literally just reviewed that movie too.
Yeah. From like high school, like hilarious. It's going on since high school, like freshman year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, this one's good. I'll post this on the website, and then you'll see what's going on, what we're drinking for tonight. But let's go. All right, let's do. We're gonna do a summary of the show, spoiler free. So you tell me. So the show is The Terminal List, starring Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
So you tell me what you think. Spoiler free summary of the show.
Spoiler free summary of the show. Well, I have to tell you, I'm a huge Chris Pratt fan, and Amazon is not shy about producing fantastic series. Right. I think this is his second show. Right, or movie or collaboration, if you'll call it, with
collaboration.
Amazon,
Collaboration is better. So you had the movie, and then now is the show. Yep.
Yeah, the Tomorrow. So I have to tell you, my summary of this: if you're looking for something that really kind of grabs you right away and starts to make you question reality, and then slowly introduces sort of what the rest of the show is going to be about, then I think this is probably as close to that as you're going to get, right? It's not like straight up Clue, where you got to worry about Professor in the library and the tool he used. This show starts off, in a situation, and it literally goes, face first into what's going on, and it does not stop from there. And I think Chris Pratt does a great job with the combat. I think he does a great job with portraying the character in the situation he's been thrown into, right? Because there's definitely some crazy things that happen along the way.
Yes, definitely.
And being I'm not throwing anything out there, but being a parent, you'll definitely appreciate that comment. But it's crazy.
Tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But I literally powered through the entire thing in probably about 3 days. I would put my kid to sleep, and it was literally, all right, let's watch one show, and he was already out, and then, you gotta do a second show, and then if you're not falling asleep, it's got to be a third show because they're an hour long, right? So you're committed.
Yep. Oh yeah, an hour long. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to agree. I totally agree with what you said on how to portray this show. I'm gonna dive just a little bit deeper. Navy SEAL. Something happens when he's deployed, comes back. He questions everything, and it gets you so good. You're like. First, you're like, no, like it's true of what he's thinking. You're like, wait a minute, it may not. The way how everything's portrayed, what's going on, and then eventually you're kind of like, there's a reporter Katie Burnett in this. They call
Yeah,
that's the character.
Constance Wu, right? That's the character.
Yeah, that's her.
So she plays Katie. Yeah.
And it feels like we're kind of like her, like trying to figure out who to believe and like is does this really true? Is really happening or it's not? It was all in its head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great. And I watched this at work. I went during my workout time and I get pumped. I'm like, let's go, especially right in the beginning. Literally, that first battle scene, it takes you in there. And then
you get about 2 miles done on the treadmill. Yeah.
I'm more of an elliptical kind of guy. So
that's all right. Low impact. I got it.
That's right. Low impact for the knees. I got to.
I got problems.
I do. So, all right. I said it's very tough to do a spoiler-free thing, but it's a great show. I love what they did. Chris Pratt, I got questions about him later on, so let's go about it. So, was this a well-written show? Before I say that, the reviews, I keep saying, like, I'm looking on Reddit and things like the critics are just like, this is the worst show ever. This is so stupid. I can't deal with the people on Reddit like, oh, just a mediocre show. Like, you know what? Like Reddit annoys me lots of the times, but I'm looking on the YouTube clips and then people are like, it has on Google, it says right now, look at IMDb, 8.1 out of 10. It has a 39% Rotten Tomato meter score, but the critics, like the audience score is high on this. Like they love this show. It's good. It's worth the watch. This is why we're talking about it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think the show itself, I think, is amazing, right? I think you and I could probably sit here and pick apart the things that we think could be improved on. But if someone were to come to me and say, "Hey, listen, like, I'm really big into the war stuff, the combat stuff, and murders and mystery and mayhem in certain scenes," I would absolutely recommend this movie, or excuse me, the TV show, right? And I don't think it falls short on the marks of any of those things. I don't want to gripe about it, but I think the only thing I would do is shorten the length of time, because I did feel like some of the things they dragged out a little bit, but like from the first moment in the show, you're immersed into like this crazy scene, and the outcome is probably what most people wouldn't expect, but that's really when the story turns up, right? And it doesn't, the gas really doesn't let off for the first 2 episodes. And then I think that's where, you get that little lull where I feel like it could have been shortened a little bit, because, you're 1 and 2, you're like amazed. And then 3 is building on the story. 4 is building on the story. And then once you get back into episode 5, you're literally on that downslope of the roller coaster going through it again. And I that's probably, in my opinion, what most people probably complained about. But overall, phenomenal TV show. Wonderful job, Amazon. And they're killing it. Because they have a ton of shows like this, but this one stands out the most. They had fantastic talent, dynamic range, like everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. What's going on? Yeah, the 1 and 2 kind of basically get you going on, questioning everything, and get you like trapped into that world. Like you're sucked in from the battle scene that's going on in the first episode. It's called, the name of that episode is called The Ingram. Then the encoding, trying to figure out what's going on in the second episode, and you're like kind of like, wow, this is interesting. Like it's not just it's military. Chris Pratt's character, Commander, he is a Navy SEALs, James Reese, and so it's just like you're in it and you're going with it, trying to figure out like what's going on. You're diving further. It's not like every episode has a good action sequence, but there's story to be built. Even like the aspects of him and his family, of what's that's being portrayed. Yeah. Like the same scene, it keeps playing over and over. You kind of get annoyed on it, but I get it. It. At the end of the season, it hits home, and you're like, oh, now you kind of they wrap it up so nicely. It reminds me. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that the tie into that, if you look at it, right, it again trying not to give away too much, right, because we want people to see, right?
Yeah.
So, the if you actually like pay attention to what's going on, and I like to look on opinions on things, and not from what other people say, but sometimes I missed the call sign on this, right? And I think I did, but I was reading a lot on it, and people had said, and if you didn't infer it, that vision that he continues to see, that's thematic throughout the entire show, right? You put it together at the end. The reason it gets put it together at the end is because whatever his purpose is in the show to do is fulfilled, right? So if you say like, okay, he's broken, the entire show he's broken, right? We're seeing it from his perspective. He's broken. There's a little bit more clarity, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more clarity, and they literally replay that scene like 20 times, right? And then at the very end, after everything's been satisfied, so to speak, right? If that's what happens, right? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but that scene kind of completes, and that's when you kind of realize, like, hey, it's done. I didn't put that together when I first saw it. I was like kind of disappointed it was over already, even after investing 8 hours of time. But, I read that and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense now, because I was annoyed by that too. But,
because then
it wouldn't deter me from saying it.
Yeah, it's like that old thing, like back in like grade school. It's like, if I keep saying something, this is definitely going to be important. So that's one of those things I caught on. Like, this thing is all right. I'm on like view 5 of this. It's only episode 4 of this scene. So something and in different angles as you go on throughout the series of watching it of Chris Pratt's character inside, and then he's outside, and then he's looking from afar, and like doing the talking with the family. So it's very good.
Yeah, it's like watching The Sixth Sense, right? Like, every time there was something important, somebody was wearing red, and like you never really pick up on it until someone else tells you, and I'm like, oh man, I just literally missed that whole thing.
Yeah, because it's so good though, because like you're so like taken back, it sucks you in. You just want to see what's going on. You're taking it right at face value. This is like, to get little things like that, you'd have to watch for a second time. You pick up more on it. But watching this at face value, sitting down watching it every episode, you're not going to be disappointed. So
no doubt. Yeah, and I think, like I said earlier, I think that the cast of people they put around him like helped him a lot, right? Like Chris Pratt, blockbuster guy on his own, right? Yep. We know what his reputation is, right? Little known fact, his brother-in-law Patrick Schwarzenegger was in the movie or in the TV show as well. Yeah, so he's got to get that brother-in-law, support there. So he was in there. He
was he the agent?
No, he was part of the team that went
Donnie
in.
Mitchell. Yes, he's Donnie in the beginning. Yes, he's like, Donnie, you all right?
Yeah, he's the guy that they're questioning after everything kind of goes awry and that beginning scene.
They're saying it was his fault and everything. So all right, I'm glad. Great segue, because I was gonna move on to the next. So that acts of the show, Chris Pratt and Taylor Kiss are the ones that are phenomenal. Taylor has been in, like, we've seen him before as a frogman. He was in Lone Survivor as Michael Murphy. So we know he can do the military part. He was also in other shows. Not so much of a good, like, movie kind of wise going on, but like he was all, what was like, what was the other show?
He was in Battleship. I really don't, he played another Navy part in Battleship. I thought it was kind of corny, and I liked it because we grew up with the game.
Yes. So
it was kind of cool, but he's another guy that he can literally play every part. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I mean, I even forget that movie. What was the name? I don't even remember, but there was a movie with him and another actor, and it was with Blake Lively. I think they tag teamed Blake Lively in the movie. That's probably the only part of it I remember, but I know he was like a drug cartel. Yeah. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, yes. I remember exactly.
Savages. That's what it was called. Yeah. He was literally a savage. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds watched that movie.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. He did a great job. And I don't think they give him enough credit, right? Because he's a man of few words in the show. But he's so impactful on his journey. His
mannerisms, the way how he delivers his lines when he's speaking. Yeah. He's a good actor. He just got shit roles.
Oh, it's awesome.
But he's never had. This is who he is. Like, this guy, a military expert and some other stuff. Again, Savages was good. That's him too. But I feel for him. But the other actors, I said Katie. Was it Constance Wu? Katie Burnett?
Constance Wu, she played the reporter. She was good. She had the most range.
Yep.
I think she had the most range of everyone in there. Like Chris Pratt, I think he was the same guy throughout the movie. A couple of scenes pulled him in different directions, but for the most part, he was like the same monotone guy, right? And I think that's intentional, right? But she was like compassionate, batshit crazy.
Yep.
Scared,
running for her life, all excited about trying to get the story, very flirty and things like that, trying to get there. I think she kind of played like both sides of it, where she was like, with him at some points, and then another point she's like, no, I got to stay on task, and I think she was the most dynamic, I think, out of everyone. Yep, definitely. And then Jai Courtney is pretty much the villain. I like him as a villain. He's such a tool. He's like such a douchebag. If this was like in the movie in the Adrian Balboa, you want to punch in the face, it would be him.
I agree. I agree. You know, but that's how it's written. You know, I think he's you know, I
He's
don't know.
good.
I think he did such a great job at being an asshole.
Yes.
But like that's how they wrote it, and it's funny
Uh-huh.
because like I think he's instinctively like that. I think he's just, you know, what's the word? I think he's on edge constantly. Like if I look at him, I think, wow, you're on edge, like constantly. That's how I feel about him.
Yeah.
So this must come naturally to him. You know, he's just got to memorize some few lines.
Yep. Yeah, I totally have to agree. So, and all right, moving on. So, like the emotions through this movie, like as you stated earlier to me when we first started,
Yeah.
as being a parent,
Yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
So that got me.
Yeah, you know, I it's funny because like you know, we talked about like how you go right into the shit, right? And you know, I think you kind of you everything happens, right? The events of the first
Yep.
you know episode kind of happen.
Yep.
And there's like a sense of like, okay, things didn't, you know, go as planned, and we're trying to put the pieces back together. And you know, if you watch the trailer, you kind of know there's like a mind fuck somewhere.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Trailer
you
gives
kind of know
stuff.
That's how they sold it, right? You know, there's a mind fuck somewhere, right? So you're trying to like figure that out in the beginning, and then I think, you know, it happens, and then you start questioning reality.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what grips you in the beginning, right? And they present you with one scenario, and then something happens, and you know you're kind of like, okay, and then it happens a couple more times, you know, and that's what I enjoyed the most, because you're literally saying like, is this guy batshit crazy, or is it just a situation where like, no, something may have happened, or maybe it didn't happen in that order, and you're and the entire time they're literally playing with your mind.
Yes.
Until you hit that turning point. Right.
Yep, because it was like the first 2 episodes, you kind of figure out like, is this really going to be in like Chris Pratt's, the main character, James Reese's commander mind, like and the way how they do that with the camera, they kind of like fading in and out, making it fuzzy and stuff like that, kind of like you know, the bright light in there. You're like, I like, you want to believe it. First you're like, yeah, no, this is totally true. Then you're like, wait a minute. Maybe it's not so much, because everyone's kind of behind them. They're kind of like, no, this is exactly what happened.
They're all telling the same wrong story.
Yes.
Yeah, remember the recording? He played the recording, and it instantly goes to him going, "Wait, maybe this didn't happen while we were out there in combat."
Yeah, and because then you realize, like when you're in combat, like what was it? Clay, like no, at C4 blew him up, and he got knocked the fuck out. And
yeah, I don't remember it was Clay. I think you were right the first time. I think it was a Claymore that they had on Tripline.
They had a couple of stuff going on, because I think they had stuff on the top and on the bottom. And so they're just like, oh shit, and so he got rocked and hurt. So that's definitely gonna mess up your mind. So you're gonna forget pretty much what's going on there. So I don't know, but it's just so good. Like even the cinematography throughout I said from the beginning, I agree. When we agree, the battle scenes are amazing. Like they trained hard. They look just like what they would be doing. They're cutting the corners, the pie, the operators, like from the look to the actual holding the weapon. Even on one of the episodes, he's moving up the stairs and he switches from his right arm to his left. I'm like, holy shit, that's such a detail that happens. I'm like, you don't even. Oh, it's great. Even the
I think my favorite of the combat scenes is that assault on. Again, not going into it too much, but I think it's the assault on that mansion, right? I think, I absolutely love that scene, because he's, you know, you're questioning what the outcome of this situation is going to be, right? Yeah. And the way that he moves and the things that come, you know, the things that are happening, right? Like, you know, I imagine that if something like that were happening, you know, obviously there's some Hollywood magic there, but there's probably a lot of things that they pulled from people that they're consulting with on how someone in his situation gets to where he's got to get to, you know, at the end of that scene. And that was like a solid 20 or 30 minutes.
Yes.
That whole thing
took a chunk of the entire episode of that. I think the latter part of the episode. I enjoyed the one where he's out of the country and he's meeting up some old friends. And then that torture, and that torture scene, and he goes to the guy. That's, if you hear that noise, that's my air conditioning kicking in.
That's right.
It sounds like a body's falling in there.
You gotta stay cool.
So anyway, there is like and then he goes after the one guy who, like Chris Pratt's character goes after. He tortures him. Then he just goes walk, and it was. Then I have to say that one, and I loved the attack in L.A. and out in the open.
Yes, that was done. And Jai Courtney, right? He was the guy that he played one of the billionaire guys in that.
Yep.
Even his character, I think his character was good. Very intense, very intense. Like the entire time, that guy was like, I'm in control. And you could just tell the way they wrote him in, he was like, I have never met something that I've not been able to conquer. Yeah, right. And you get introduced to him. He was in a training simulation.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. He was trying to do. He was like doing this like a glass house,
like a drill or something.
Yeah, it's a shooter house to go and stuff like that. So, and I love it in that scene. One of his a former operator is now a security guard. He's like, time to nut up or shut up, fanboy. I love it.
He's like, listen, if you don't do a good job, you're done.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not. You don't run the drill good. He's like, you're done. You know?
It's great. And, it's like real life. This is what's happening. So it was. Loved it. Oh, no, another guy, small cameo. Was Sean Gunn? That was Sean Gunn that was in there, right? Yeah, James Sean Gunn. Yes, it was. I recognized him immediately. I was like, oh, Sean Gunn. Holy shit, it's James Gunn's brother.
Another MCU character making his way into a Chris Pratt movie.
That was Saul. He was the VP. He was still he kind of played the same character as he did in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think I mean he's not a Ravager, right? But I definitely think the role he plays, he's like a subordinate kind of guy, right?
Yeah, who's like a skeevy salesman. It's like he'll do whatever he can to get the deal. So like he's good at his job, but it's just like he's just skeevy. All right. Yeah. So this show, is it anything similar to any shows and movies we've seen before? So obviously this show is based off a book, which is good. Yeah. That's why a lot of people from the reviews earlier they don't like whoever wrote the book, but like. Don't worry about that. I'll read the book. My buddy who I work with said, listen, great show as well. Book was a little bit better. And I go, okay. So
I'll get the audio recording. I'll listen to it on the way to work. But I have somebody else read it for me. It's fine.
Yeah. I feel like it's along the lines of not like Reacher, but what was it with John Krasinski?
Jack Ryan. That was going to be my pick. And then that was also produced by Amazon.
Yeah,
and I think they're in 2 seasons in, right?
Yeah, actually all 3 of those. So Reacher was you see that
one?
We might have to talk.
I did see Reacher. I enjoy it. We'll have to do another one on that.
Yeah, probably the next one. And I probably Jack Ryan as well. I love those with John Krasinski.
I think the Jack Ryan ones out of the 3
are the best.
I think the Jack Ryan one was the best. Yes. Yeah. And you know what? You know what it is? I have so much respect for John Krasinski, right? Huge fan of his work, even his, directorial stuff that he did with his wife.
Yep.
Huge fan. So like to see him in a role that was not something, normal for him, where he isn't a funny kind of comedic, kind of lovable character. I think he did awesome. I think he did a phenomenal job. And I think that this kind of, this style of like, not necessarily military movie, but like secrecy and, you're working with, entities like the CIA and military espionage, on the operator level. Like, I think this compares the most to that.
So, which brings me to the question. So Chris Pratt portraying a serious role, he did it in Moneyball, where they made him as like in there, but he didn't have a big role in there. But has this solidified him as a really good actor now? I think it has. Like he's always, Guardians of the Galaxy. What was it? Parks and Rec. He's always been funny. He's always been he was a fat, like funny guy, and everyone laughed. Guardians of the Galaxy, same thing. He can pull off the lines of being somewhat serious when the time came in the movies, but he was more of like the witty, kind of like a Robert Downey Jr., but like a little more like a different kind of way of funny going on. But
I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like seeing him as James Reese in this. I love it. I love him as this character. I would love to see more of him. And it's funny if you look at a lot of the characters he's played, over time, right? Parks and Rec, not a dad, right? Not like to your point, a lovable, funny character, right? He was in that movie. Take Me Home Tonight. Remember that one with Anna Faris? Fantastic movie. Dan Fogler. Fantastic movie. Yep.
Same kind of funny, unresponsible kind of character. Guardians of the Galaxy. another thing, again, not a father figure, like someone that you fall in love with, and there is a serious part to him, but 99% of it's comedic. And then he does Tomorrow's War, and he does this, both roles where he's like, you know, a kind of 35-year-old and older guy, and he's married and he's got a kid. And I think a lot of that's probably reflective of like his personal life. So yeah, I think, you know, this is only going to solidify him in terms of what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, as I'm looking at his movie history, he did Tomorrow War. He was kind of funny in that one, like a little bit more. He was also in Zero Dark 30. He was SF on that one. That went in there. Not a big role because it was more about finding like Osama in there. And yeah, but this one, he's an action star, but can also do serious like roles because it's an action movie, but yet it's very serious. There's not like I don't know how to explain it. It's not like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or anything like that.
There isn't an ounce of comedy in this. This isn't Kindergarten Cop. You know, there isn't. That's his father-in-law. It's funny you bring that up. There isn't an ounce of comedy in this show. There's literally nothing in this show that maybe a chuckle here and there, but there's nothing that's like written in here purposely that's funny.
No,
I think.
No, it's a straight serious action suspenseful drama for this. So, all right. Any questions you got on this show? Is there any unanswerable questions you think coming out of this, or something you want to tell the audience?
You know, not really. I think one thing to consider, right? Like, and it's kind of weird, right? And they kind of touch on it at the end, but like, you know, you obviously the role that Taylor Kitsch plays right throughout this entire movie, and he's such a great supporting guy, right? And it's kind of funny, but like, I don't know if they ever touched on it, but did the two of them serve together?
Yeah,
and that's how he knew. So and then obviously Taylor Kitsch's character kind of gets out of being, you know, an operator,
he came
and then
out
he goes into
operator. It was when they went to remember the pilot, her what was her name? They saved her.
The female, yes, they saved her.
No, that's his wife is Lawrence Reese, is Riley Keough. Liz Riley was the pilot. They saved her. She was that's why she's like the her what was it? Her Kiowa went down, which is like a small bird.
And they had to rescue her.
And then
I remember.
It was the four of them that was in there, and even later on, Chris Pratt's so fucked up with his memory. One of the guys is like, "Oh, like Boozer was in there." It's like, Boozer, what the fuck? Or he wasn't even. Or no, the other guy. It's like he was in like his goddamn high school trying to get his dick wet or something. I don't remember. I don't think they said exactly that.
Yeah,
but,
that's fine. We'll say it's fine.
We'll say it's what it was. So, but yeah, that's where they were in and I think that's one of his last missions. I think it was Iraq, and like they went down, and they rescued her, and she was like, she became part of like them as like the crazy ass chopper pilot that they always needed.
So it's funny. So you know the outcome of Ben, obviously, right, and what happens.
Yep.
You know, to how his character develops and where he ends up, right? So my question is, right, and I was just giving this some thought earlier when we were figuring out that this was going to be what we talked about, but. Right, like, do we ever think that he pulls his punches at any point when he's supporting Jack, you know, or James Reese in this? Right? Do we think? Do we think you think he's once the story starts? You think he's committed all the way to see the whole thing through?
Definitely. He's got skeletons in his closet. And he's going to atone for all the sins he's committed, and he even fucking takes it like to the chest when they're going to the other country. He gets shot, and he's able to survive. And then next thing you know, he's like, "Fuck you," and kills the guy, and then gives him 5 more shotgun rounds to the face while he's on the ground. So he knew. He's like, I'm in it with you. He does try to convince, James Reese, saying, "Listen, dude, let's not do it. Like, let's not go further than what's going on. Like, it's just too much. Like he loves him as like a brother, like a brother in arms, and he doesn't want him. He wants to have like a peaceful death, and he doesn't want him to finish the rest of the mission because then." Of what happens next. So, but like he does not. That once he realizes of what's going on, the entire situation, his totality of circumstances that's involved, he's like, I'm in. Like, I fucked up bad, and I'm going to do whatever I can to atone for it, and I'm going to pay for my crimes. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I know at that point, at certain points they they touch on that, and my whole thing was like at some point, I'm wondering in his character, does it ever come, a point where he's like, hey, I may have to pull a punch here and see what the outcome is, because I know what's going to keep going, what's going to happen as they're going through this list, of things that they have to fix, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I thought that for a second, but then I realized, you know what? When they almost get caught and getting shot and then continue on, then it's like, all right, I knew you'd show up, and it's like, oh no, like he did not one bit. He's like, I'm in it. Like this is what we are. So, all right, let's do a final review of the show. We don't want to go too far over. I said Speakeasy. We're trying to keep it as close to 30 minutes as possible. First episode's gonna be a little longer, talking about what we are of this RB2 Speakeasy. So, all right, so final review of the show, Joe. Hit me with it. What you think?
Final review. I'll keep it short and sweet. Fantastic show. Fantastic cast. They do a great job of putting themselves in this situation, living the actual roles that they're playing. My one gripe, I think it should have been like 3 episodes shorter. I'm not saying we should have taken it from an 8-episode show down to a 3-episode show, but I think a lot of the story arcs that they touched on, I think could have been either shortened or removed altogether. And I think, people wanted that action to not stop. And I think those episodes 3, 4, and 5, or 3 and 4, not so much 5, but I think it kind of like pumped the brakes on a lot of what people were expecting. And if people were dropping off from seeing it, I think that's where it would have been. So my vote would have been to make it shorter. But overall, I like I said, as soon as I was done, I called you like 48 seconds later to tell you should watch it.
I agree. You can cut some here and there. Great, as I'm saying with you, great show. It gets you sucked in from within the first. Like, if you love action and you love like war movies and war TV shows, this will get you in. Then it starts hitting on other emotions of what's going on, and it involves PTSD, deployments, operators, our military, government, private sector, fucking over the military, government letting that happen, and just like everyone's out for a profit, but us veterans, like whoever served, like we're the ones that get fucked in the end, and it's just always the rich who stay rich. So it's. And James Reese is going to make a difference in that. He's like, fuck you. You did this to me. I'm making a list on our coloring page. And I'm going to cross every name on a drawing.
Yeah. So, yeah, no doubt. And he didn't pull back any punches.
Not
for sure.
One fucking bit.
He's like, once you made the list, his goal was to, make sure that your name was crossed off, and
oh, it happened. He wanted every fucking name involved, and he found everyone, every single one that was involved. Yeah,
and like I said, I think I absolutely love the way that he was methodical, well planned, and I would expect nothing less of even if it's a fictional character, I would expect nothing less of somebody in that position within the SEALs, as an operator.
Totally agree. All right, so watch the show. And that's going to be it for us. I'd like to thank you, Joe, Real Bro Fan Joe, for joining me on this first one. Hopefully it continues going on. We know we may swap guests here and there. We'll try to keep it just me and another host. Maybe continue with Joe and see what's going on. We'll decide what the next episode is going to be. I'd like to thank you for the fans that are listening to this, and hopefully we'll bring you more to this. You can check out this episode on any of your podcast listening platforms, like our predecessor, Reels Booze Bros. And you can check it out also on reelsboozebros.com. Have a little special drop down. Once I add it all in, it'll have a little drop down of called the Speakeasy, and you can find the episodes there. And that's it for this. Joe, again, thank you very much. Everyone,
thank you, dude. Pleasure.
Cheers.